Hello and welcome everyone to another Fantasy Premier League video. Today I'm going to be continuing my club by club guide to the Fantasy Premier League for this season, 2021-2022 season. My name is Mo and this is my channel FPL Inkling, and today's club we're going to be discussing is Newcastle, the One City club, and that's what we're going to do is review the players from last season, any new additions, and kind of go through their insight stats and who actually kind of appeals to many managers so far at the start of this season. Just to let you know, before we start, if you haven't subscribed to my channel just yet, it's the best time to do it right now. It's just click that subscribe button to help me grow this channel. So let's not waste any further time, guys, and let's get stuck in to some stats for Newcastle themselves. So Newcastle, under Steve Bruce, they kind of did well last season, kind of went under unfair criticism, kind of didn't have their best players for a majority of the season. They had Callum Wilson, who was injured for a fair bit of the season. Maximin, who's one of their main players, kind of was, caught with COVID and then had long COVID. Lascelles, pretty much the same. But let's see what they got to offer this season. Let's go through some stats from last season and let's just see if they're worth considering even bringing into our drafts so far this season. So we're going to go through both goalkeepers from last year. We had Darlow and I think it's Dubravka, that's how you pronounce his name, because there was a phase where, Dubravka did come in and play for a bit of this season. So let's start with Darlow. So Kyle Darlow was kind of like number one at the start of last season. He's owned by less than 1% of managers at the moment. 4.5 million price, so he's a budget goalkeeper. He got 80 points last season and he played 2,250 minutes with 4 clean sheets, and his output per game, so points per game, was 3.2. He got 6 bonus points as well. He's not a bad keeper. If you had to judge him in terms of Dubravka, I think Dubravka is a better shot stopper. From what I did see of these goalkeepers last season, they're both as good as each other. But personally, he is number one. And if you are looking for like a cheap option, there are better options for me out there. I'd definitely say Sanchez at 4.5 for Brighton would be a better option. That's who I'm looking at the moment. But Kyle Darlow is an alternative budget keeper as well, which people may have their sights on in terms of differential aspect as well. So I'm going to go through the fixtures for Newcastle in the first 10 game weeks, so then we can kind of measure that in terms of other players, how they did last season and their appeal to managers this season before they kind of select their drafts and they can choose to bring them in or not. So the first game is West Ham away, which is quite a difficult fixture to be fair. Aston Villa away as well. So they got West Ham home and Aston Villa away. Then they've got Southampton at home, followed by Manchester United away, Leeds at home, Watford away, Wolves away, Tottenham at home, Crystal Palace away, and Chelsea at home. So again, I think they're all pretty challenging fixtures, with a few of them which I think they can get some returns from. Clean sheets might not be something which is the order of the day for Newcastle. They don't really get many clean sheets itself, but for saves, you might get a few points for you. But overall, I wouldn't be considering any Newcastle goalkeepers myself personally. Moving on to the alternative choice, who's Dubravka. He comes in at 4.5 mil. He's selected by 3.4% of managers. There is, the kind of likelihood that he could be number one going into this season, but we're yet to see the confirmation who the number one will be. So pre-season will give us some more of an insight of who Steve Bruce is back in and who's going to be number one. Played, 1,170 minutes last season. 48 points, guys. He got from those points in terms of minutes played. He averaged 3.69, so he's a bit more than Darlow. Great shot stopper, made 45 saves in the games he did play with 3 clean sheets, and he did concede 19 goals. But Newcastle were a team who was going to leak goals. Defensively, they haven't been that sound, and their highest scoring defender last season was only 53 points, which we can go through as well. So moving on to the defence itself, we've got Federico Fernandez. Now, at the moment, no one in terms of the game owns him. And it's not really a surprise because even though he was the highest scoring defender last season for Newcastle, but only 53 points. And if you look at his general output per game, it was only 2.29. No goals, no assists, only 5 clean sheets. He did score an own goal, by the way, but that's why he hasn't had much appeal despite being the highest scoring defender. The next player is Matt Ritchie. Now, Matt Ritchie is one of the kind of 5 or 6 players this season. I've done a video already about position changes. He was listed as a midfielder last season, but rightfully has been put back in defence this season. He got 5 assists last season, 52 points, 3 clean sheets and 5 bonus points. He's owned by 0.3% of managers now. Those points, if he was a defender last season, obviously would have been a bit higher because the goals scored and clean sheets points could have been added. which is addition. So he could have finished off around, maybe 60s, mid 60s in terms of points. But yeah, in terms of Matt Ritchie himself, kind of has a good left foot, can take a few set pieces. In terms of points per game, Matt Ritchie got 3.46, which wasn't actually too bad for what you're paying for him at 5 mil. Not bad consideration, but if you had to ask me in terms of alternative options in defence, who I think are better at that price or maybe cheaper, you got someone like a Fofana, Tariq Lamptey, Connor Cody, Ben White. So there are other cheaper options available. So that's why I personally would refrain from selecting Matt Ritchie. Moving to the midfield, guys. So the highest scoring midfielder with 97 points last season was Almiron. Now, Almiron last season got 3.59 points per game, priced at 5.5 mil. He played just around 2,400 minutes and got 97 points with 4 goals and 2 assists. So 6 returns. Again, the fixtures don't seem that great, so for my opinion, generally, I personally wouldn't pick him. But in terms of 5.5, you've got alternative players to choose from in terms of price-wise for that. If I was going to go for a 5.5 midfielder, generally, I wouldn't go for a 5.5 if I'm looking to play them. I would look at potentially a minimum 6, where you're looking at someone like a Souček in that position. So for me, I personally wouldn't look at Almiron, despite him being their highest scoring midfielder last season. But I forgot to mention, in terms of defence, you got Lascelles as well. Only owned by 0.5% of managers, 4.5 million price. He only got 44 points last season. Again, due to COVID, long COVID, he was out for a while. He got 2 goals, by the way, with 2 clean sheets with 3 bonus points. And his average points per game was 2.44. Would I play him in my squad? A 4.5, as I said, I have looked at someone like a Tariq Lamptey or a Fofana. They seem more, even Ben White or Connor Cody kind of seem more attractive to me at the moment. And Newcastle don't really have that much of great fixtures, so I'm pretty much going to say a no-go to their defence and certainly their goalkeepers as well. Moving through the front line now, guys, we're going to go on to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson, to be fair, he kind of carried the front line of Newcastle last season. He was injured for a little period. That's why he's, for me, going to be the star-studded recommendation player from the player's guide for me from Newcastle. He's already got 4.8% managers who own him, and I think, with more managers who join the game closer to game week 1, his ownership will increase. He's on set pieces for penalties. He likes to get involved in terms of assists as well. He got 18 returns, guys, last season, 12 goals and 6 assists with 134 points, and he averaged 6.38 points per game, which is significantly high. If you compare him to someone like a Watkins, who was averaging around 4 points per game, that's why, even considering him at the same price, Callum Wilson might be a better choice, guys, overall. But again, injury prone. He might get injured during the season, but Ollie Watkins pretty much played every minute last season for Aston Villa, barring that game he was suspended. Next player is St. Maximin. So he was converted from a midfielder and made a striker this season. Is that going to benefit him, or is that going to benefit any managers in FPL kind of terms? I'm not really sure it is. But let's go through some underlying stats. So he caught COVID last season, had long COVID, and was out for a very long period of time. And Newcastle actually felt the impact of him not being available. He's got 3 goals, 5 assists last season, and he got 5 bonus points for the total 85 points he did get. His points per game was 4.93, which is quite impressive for a player who, only costs 6.5 mil. Is he a good option to have? If you look at alternative options, you've got Tony, who takes penalties, who probably will play more minutes than him as well. So I think there are better options at 6.5. I'd even consider Timo, Pukki at Norwich. He didn't have a great overall season in the Premier League last time, but he's had a really good championship again. So he's on penalties as well. So there are other alternatives options that we can look at for this price range up front for 6.5 mil. But again, if you do decide to go for him as a differential, makes full sense because he's an incredible player and a good talent. Hasn't reached his full potential, but I hope he does kind of get to that this season. Last but not least is Joe Linton. He averaged 3.36 points per game, selected by less than 1% of managers, 6 million price, 74 points in total last season, 4 goals, 2 assists, and played under 2,000 minutes. So there's not really much in terms of, players from Newcastle that stood out for me. Warren Wilson or St. Maximin, I probably wouldn't consider anyone else from the squad itself. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Are these players that you're looking at the moment? Is there any player from Newcastle that I've missed that you're looking at and you'd like some more information on? Let me know. Contact me on my social media, which is written below. Let me know what you thought of this video. Join the league. The code's right at the bottom left, guys. So hit that code in. Join the FPL Inklink League. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, great opportunity for you to hit that subscribe button. Help this channel grow. And also like the video if you like the video as well. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell icon to get the latest notifications of my content that I do release. My name is Mo. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you for watching this FPL video, and I'll be back with some more content very soon.